Um, Last night you listened to Klausy Wousy. Herr Professor Doctor, as the Germans would say. What's some of the takeaways for Klaus?
I think the biggest thing, at least for me, was that he did everything that QLA says and that you say, but it was applied to the corporate world. So it wasn't acquisitions, it wasn't roll-ups, it was just corporate. The exact same thing, almost word for word, script, like you said.
Joe.
Having been in the corporate world a few years, I think he is the absolute flawless, perfect CEO. In terms of what he says, how he presents himself, but I get a feeling that underneath there's a ferocious animal.
Klausy is slicker than baby diarrhea. He's slicker than that. Whatever is, how baby diarrhea just kind of flows out, he's slicker than that. He is smooth. He's very good. He hasn't always been that smooth, but he is now. He's a consummate CEO of a world-class company.
But underneath.
Yeah, well, he's a tough guy underneath, but that's not his public persona. I told you about public personas, remember? Mm-hmm. But you go, yeah, look at all the wishy-washy. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I noticed I've seen a lot of generals, spoken to a lot of generals and colonels, and there's actually a lot of similarities between how they speak and how Klaus spoke. Because once you get to that level, you manage that many people, the concepts are pretty much the same.
Correct. I mean, the concept of leadership are ageless. And I think today after lunch we talk about leadership a lot. And again, there's two ends of a management or leadership continuum. There's the Henry Kissinger, which Klaus is at, and he knows Henry Kissinger, he's a friend of Henry. And then there's Patton and myself and a few others, Trump and a few others, that are at the Ayatollah Khomeini end of the leadership continuum. Both are extremely effective. 95% of the leadership guys, high-performance guys, are all at Klaus's end. There's only 5% maybe that are at my end. What else?
Considering his second language, English wasn't his first language. His English was impeccable as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, it didn't used to be that way out, but it is. I mean, Kleinfeld believes in practice, and then more practice. Yeah.
It's interesting to get your opinion about the conflict between his flat structure and the assumption that everyone who reports him is high performance, and your philosophy of just having 2 or 3 reports.
Yeah, he has 25 guys report to him, if I remember correctly.
Whether that can actually work.
Well, it can if they're all superheroes. Yeah, it can. But the thing, and if your own management skills are extraordinary. But in your particular case, you're not going to have superheroes, and your management skills suck. So that's why I say 2 or 3. I mean, it's...
A recruitment skills more important then.
Pardon?
Recruitment skills.
Recruitment and training.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned the program of 400, top 400 position, constantly being reviewed and constantly looking for succession planning.
Yeah. With a big I mean, he's run a much bigger organization when he ran Siemens, but yeah. But the things that are important to a guy that runs a big organization like that, those things are less important, if non-existent. Don't even come up on your list for you guys that are starting out, because you don't, you got to get traction. You got to get some momentum going. I mean, Alcoa's been running around for 100+ years, and it has that flywheel effect. I mean, it makes money even by accident. And unfortunately, the cost of aluminum, the price of aluminum has dropped 80% since he took over Alcoa, which used to be their benchmark for everything they did, and now it's not. So he's transformed that, and he just announced splitting Alcoa into two parts, 2 different companies, and But there's a reason why Klaus is the only non-U.S. citizen that is a envoy of President Obama. He's special something or other to the, I forget to who, to what, but he is. Because he is. He's extremely diplomatic, and he's slick. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, I do get the impression though that he was still giving us his CEO front, and he wasn't really telling us about what really goes on politically.
Well, of course he's not. I mean, you know.
That's really what I wanted to say. Have an insight into.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
What you have to do.
I have that insight because I've known him almost 20 years, and I worked with him hand to hand for 10 years until he became CEO, and then 3 years after he became CEO of Siemens. He's all grown up now.
I like his approach to email. He says he only tries to read email once and touch a piece of paper once, as far as being efficient with time and delegating.
And he has special time. Well, at least he used to have special times in the day where he did certain things.
That's what I took away. He was really systematic in how he used his time.
And his management, the template, which you're going to get, the template that he uses is the United States Army template.
I like the idea that he's not, even though he manages such a huge company with so many people, he's not paralyzed by the magnitude of it, that he just reaches right down.
It's one step at a time.
It's about time management first, but is our process we're going to have a weekly report, is that going to take care of it? So should we not bother? We won't bother with time management.
Well, I mean, everybody bothers with it because when you actually list what you do in a day, you will be sick to your stomach. Especially somebody like you, Matt. You will think. I can't, and I'm never at a loss for words. But I mean, it will make you fucking ill. It makes me ill to read them. But I mean, but see, as Sally says to me, she says, "Dan, they're too stupid to know that they're not well." See, you're not, hey guys, you're not well. I mean, mentally, you're not. Nobody in this room is mentally healthy. Not one of you, not one motherfucker in this room is mentally healthy. Occasionally we get a few. By the way, Josh sent me an email and he said, just to have the fucking cunts read the last paragraph, which I'm going to print out and read it to you. But there's a big hitter begging him to not to be a director. He wants to be part of the deal. And he says, the guys, he says, has any of their dicks grown more than a centimeter? I says, no. I emailed him back, no, they're still... You know how when it gets real cold and a man's penis sucks into his body? I says, they're still at that stage. This is a kid. He could come up here and slap you all around. Anything else on...
One of the things that I picked up was the fact that the reason why it can be so effective is the fact that he gets people who can get the accurate information and also to come with some of the solutions. So he says, I may agree with it, I may review it, or I would say, no, not this, but at least he gets them to have their input as well.
Remember I talked about 3 alternatives? Remember I said we were going to talk about it later in the... Okay, well, the report, and this is all morphed over the years, and you're going to figure out your own challenges. I mean, when all the walls are caving in, there's a thing called emotional flooding. Emotional flooding is when their information is coming in so quickly, you can't process it. And it's not just information, you have to make decisions based on that information so quickly. You can't process it. And it's like a little kid trying to put his thumb and fingers in holes in a dam, and then pretty soon, like in a cartoon, the dam starts to break, and you don't have enough toes and fingers to plug up the holes. That's what you guys are going to be like. Or you've operated your whole lives this way, but now you're going to be able to read it in a weekly report, and it'll make you ill. because you just, oh, you know, and there's not enough fingers and holes, and then, and since you're not going to be reaching out to each other, because if I find out that, you're out of the program. You're out of the program. If you start swapping spit, you're out. Because I know what that leads to. And if you start trying to lean on Eaton, and I'll throw him out just because, and if he doesn't tell me that you're leaning on him, so now you want to know why there's only 9 out of 18 last time. Because you can't help yourselves. The devil made you do it. And in your particular case, your parents made you fucked up. But you're all mentally, there's nobody mentally, you know, there's nobody operating on 12 cylinders in here. There isn't nobody. Very few times do we get anybody that's operating on all. And then, of course, some smart ass, well, the cars now have 6 cylinders. Okay, whatever the full component of the car is, you're not operating on them. And, electric cars have no cylinders. And I've been through all of this shit, you know? Anything else?
He was very open, even though he's a CEO of a major global organization. He was happy to go into his own personal story with the East Germany and his
dad and all that. Yeah. All that's true. Like everybody else, he has rose-colored glasses about some of his things, but it's all basically everything he says is true. I mean, he's a very honest guy.
One thing he said at the end was, if you want people to build a boat, when he's talking about the vision of the company, to tell them about traveling to a different continent. Don't tell them about how to chop down a tree and then how to carve boards.
Well, unfortunately, see, we're in the chop down tree stage with you guys, and laying the keel and all that stuff. But I mean, it's like at Google. I've got a couple mentees that are at Google, and the interviewing process used to be 7 to 12 interviews. I don't know what it is now. 7 to 12. We had a young kid who came through the program. His father, his brothers, and he have augmented the program. And he wanted to, that's right, he wanted to be a Goldman Sachs guy. That's right, Greg, he wanted to be a Goldman Sachs guy. So he decided, they were having a kind of a fair in New York City where Goldman Sachs was interviewing on Saturday. He decides on Tuesday, before the Saturday, he's going to work for Goldman Sachs. And so, anyway, make a long story short, he goes through all this shit, and they offer him a job. And they got people waiting in line to work at Goldman Sachs from big schools, and I don't want to work at Goldman Sachs. I just wanted them to offer me a job. Then he decides, I think I'm going to go work at Google. I like Google, Everybody says how hard it is. And so he goes to work for Google. He gets a job at Google. He shows up. I mean, not that they just show, I want to work here. And they hire him. This kid is slicker than, slick. Plus super smart. He didn't know how to write code. The week before, he teaches himself how to write code. The week before. I've had other guys teach themselves how to write code in 2 days. It's not that fucking hard. But anyway. And so he works for Google, gets promoted a couple times. I don't like Google anymore. So I forget what's the other hard one I went to. He went someplace else. Get a job. These are jobs that people go to school to figure out how to go work there, but he's using QLA. He just storms the place down. And this is a little skinny kid that weighs about 80 pounds. But his brain, he looks like a cyclops. His brain's this big. His head, he can't walk. Okay, YouTubers, bye-bye.